Hey everybody, this is Noah from One Exam Prep. I'm coming to you today with Andrew Gertz, who is our top Georgia licensing expert, and we're going to have a little discussion with him about Georgia specifically and some of the licensing requirements and things and how to get contractors licensed. So Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, Noah. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. So Andrew, why don't you jump right into what's going on in Georgia right now? What are some of the programs that are going on, and why should prospective contractors look to get licensed?
Of course. So first and foremost, we all know parts of Georgia terribly affected by the storms, unfortunately. Prayers go out to those people, but that does mean there's a lot of work. There's more work there than the current contractor base can handle. So any new contractors looking to get in the game, there's plenty of work to go around right now. Couple things that make Georgia unique to other states I want to mention is, whenever I answer the call, somebody reaches out to me, I want to be a Georgia contractor, I want to be a GC. Everybody says GC, right? Well, what's interesting about Georgia is there's actually 3 levels of builder that are commonly referred to as a GC. So you have your residential basic, okay, single family homes, right? You have your residential light commercial, who can do anything the residential basic can, plus they can work commercial projects up to 3 stories. And then you have what's actually the general contractor, or another way to refer to it is the unlimited license, where you can build pretty much anything.
So just to jump in, so tell me if I'm, how do I make a decision? What would sway me into one license versus the other? It sounds a little confusing.
So step 1 for any of the licenses you're going for is you have to submit an application to the state, okay? And they'll approve you to test for the license you're going for. So to determine which license you want to get, I recommend to everyone I speak to, you want to go for the highest scope you can get approved for, okay? But to get approved
is there any risk? Sorry, is there any risk to if you apply for the highest scope and you get rejected? Is there any risk that you can't apply for the basic or one of the lower ones?
Nope, no risk. A lot of times the state will even tell you, they'll be like, what you have here for your experience, we won't approve you for the GC, but you can get the residential light commercial or the residential basic. There's no risk. So what I always recommend though is sitting down with someone who really understands, a person like myself, who really understands what the state is looking for, so you can then apply for the highest level of license you can possibly get. Because what you don't want to do is just go for a residential basic and then a year from now have to test again for a light commercial if you could get approved for the light commercial today, right?
Right.
So that would be step 1, right? The application. For any level of builder, step 1 is the application. Any of the 3
And
levels.
Do I do the application, or is that something you can help me with?
So you can absolutely do it yourself, but it's not something I recommend. You got to think about it like this, right? We've all been to the DMV before. Okay, you fill out the form, you put your middle initial there where it says name, but your full middle name is what's spelled out on your driver's license. So they're going to rip your form up and send you to the back of the line. Now that's a simplified version, but the application is very similar. Okay, if you are listed on on the company as a manager and on the paperwork filed with the state, you're MGR, but on the application you write down manager, they're going to send you to the back of the line, make you redo it. So I always recommend to everybody, we have a team of experts. This is what they do. They work with the state. They know exactly what the state wants to see. They're going to go through the application with you line by line, and then they're going to prepare the application, make sure it's perfect, because when we send it to the state, it's our return address on that label. We have a reputation, and we're not sending anything to the state that's not prepared perfectly. So I always suggest go with us. You don't want those delays with all the work that's there now due to the storms and otherwise. You want to get the license as quick as possible, get yourself in the game. Okay.
So just for clarification, because I know in Florida and many other states, the application comes after you pass your tests. So you're saying in Georgia, it's before you pass your tests.
Yes, no, that's correct. In Georgia, you are not able to test until they approve your application. So in Georgia, the application is step one.
Now,
Fol-
if I let's say I want to go for my application, but I'm worried that I'm not gonna, what if I don't get approved? Do you guys do you have, I mean, do you have any kind of, is there any kind of program that if, you don't get approved, that, I don't have to move forward with the rest of my package or whatever that is?
Yep. So our whole goal as a school is we want to see our students licensed, and we want to make it as easy and efficient as we possibly can. To that end, Georgia presents a unique problem. The application is first before you even test. So what we came up with, it's a great way of doing it, is we call it a jumpstart package. Okay. It includes our application service, where you're going to meet with our experts and they're going to make sure it's done perfectly. But it also includes everything you need for step two, the business and finance exam. So you're going to get your business and finance book highlighted and tabbed, as well as access to the course to make sure you pass the exam. Now, what's great about it is the whole time your application is being prepared and being reviewed, you're studying for that exam. So the moment you get approved, you don't miss a beat. You go take that exam, and then all you have left to do is the trade exam. Now, if for whatever reason you don't get approved, and it's very rare, honestly, Noah, people don't get approved. Whenever I speak to someone, I always go over the basics, make sure they have the experience, everything like that. So it's very rare they don't get the approved. But in the event someone doesn't get approved, that whole package is refundable, except for a very small fee that goes towards the application. That's $280. But that's less than half of the package. So it's a great way to really get in the game. And again, if I'm signing you up, it's because I'm 99.9% certain that you're gonna get approved. You have the experience, because I don't want to waste anybody's time, right?
Right.
So the only way you wouldn't get approved is if there was something you omitted to me, right, or to one of our other experts, because our applications team is going to make sure that your application is perfect.
Okay, so tell me about, so tell me now, there's essentially two tests, right? So tell me about the finance test and the trade test. What's the difference, and what should I expect when I'm studying for it?
Okay, so start with the business and finance test. No matter which level of builder you're going for, the residential basic, the residential light commercial, or the full GC, that test is going to be the same. It's going to be 50 questions, 120 minutes. Okay, so just under 3 minutes a question, right? An open book exam on one book, the NASCLA Georgia 3rd Edition Contractor's Guide to Business Law Management. Now, the trick with these open book exams is this business and finance exam, it's not testing you on your knowledge of business and finance, how well you run a business. It's really testing you on how familiar you are with that book. The answers to the questions are in the book, right? So they're letting you bring the answers into the exam. The key is being able to find the answer in the book in that time frame, that roughly 2 minutes and 30 seconds you have for each question. To that end, we provide 4 things that are critical. Your book's going to be highlighted and tabbed. Our highlights are designed by our licensed contractors who are instructors and have passed the exam. They're highlighting the most pertinent, most commonly referenced information for you. While I can't guarantee that the answer is going to be highlighted, and that's because they change the questions all the time, our instructors do a very good job. And I can say that more often than not, either the heading over the answer, the table with the answer, or in some cases, yes, even the answer itself will be highlighted for you. The second thing is the tabs. If you're unfamiliar, no, they're little stickers. They go around the perimeter of the book. They're permanently affixed. If you pull on them, they don't come off. What those do is they allow you to open to specific chapters, specific sections. Because again, under 3 minutes a question, you don't have time to be thumbing through pages. You want to open right up to where you need to be. So that's how the book prepares you to pass the exam, highlighted and tabbed. Along with the highlighted and tabbed book, our course is designed to make sure you pass, because as I mentioned, it's not about how well you run a business or what you know about accounting, finance, right? It's all about referencing the book. The course is going to do two things for you. It's going to lay the foundation. It's going to teach you the test-taking techniques to attack the test efficiently. And then the meat and potatoes of the course is going to be the practice questions. For every nook and cranny of that book, our students get intimately familiar with what information is where in that book. So then when they're in our final exam simulator, they're reading a question. They know exactly which tab to pull, which section to go to find the answer.
Okay, got it. So essentially what you're teaching the prospective contractor is how to find the answers in the book really quickly, and that's why it's tapped and highlighted when it comes in the mail.
Correct. The tabbing and highlighting, it takes about 2 hours to prepare the book. We're very thorough, and that's one of the ways that we get to that 98.7% success rate we advertise. Now, that's when you go based on our instructor recommendations, okay? So when I say 98.7%, it's not magic. You have to put the time in. You have to practice with the book. But if you put that time in and you're flying through our simulators, you're passing our simulators, you're gonna pass the exam.
Okay, got it. And once I pass my business test, what comes next? What am I doing next?
So if you start with our Jumpstart package, okay, there's a $415 credit included in that package that's going to apply towards your final step, your trade exam, the trade books, the trade courses, right? Now, depending on the level of builder, again, residential basic, residential light commercial, or the unlimited GC, that trade exam will be a little different, okay? I'll just give you an example. The GC trade exam is 115 questions, 330 minutes, okay? Residential basic, 80 questions, 200 minutes. Residential light commercial, 90 questions, 230 minutes, okay? So the exams are a little different, and the number of books you're going to have on the exam vary. So it goes from 8 on the residential basic all the way up to 24 books if you're going for the unlimited GC. But the philosophy on it is the same. The books are highlighted and tabbed. We're going to teach you the techniques to attack the test efficiently. And then you're going to get hundreds of practice questions for each book, get you intimately familiar with every nook and cranny. And then the final exams and the simulators, where again, once you're in our simulators and you're reading every question, recognizing which book you're going to find the answer in, where to go in that book to find the answer, you know you're ready for the real thing and you're going to do great.
So talk to me about study time and how much time do you think one needs to put in for the business, and then what is the harder of the two tests in your opinion?
So everybody's different, right? But generally speaking, the business and finance exam, even though it's one book, is generally the more difficult exam for most folks. And the reason for that is because most folks going to get a contractor's license, they've been in their trade, right? They've been building, right? They know how to build. They know all the terms and concepts around the trade. They're usually, generally speaking, less familiar with the business and finance concepts, the accounting practices, the lien law, the workers' law, the IRS tax schedules, things like that. So generally, even though the business is less books, it's the one where the concepts aren't as familiar, so it can be more difficult. Now, not always the case, okay? You get a lot of people who have been on the business side of things, and they find the business exam to be very simple. But generally speaking, the business exam is the more difficult exam.
Got it. Okay. So now what happens? So I've taken my business. So first, just to recap, I'm doing my application. The state tells me I'm good to go. Once I do that, I'm studying for my business exam. I take my business exam. Then I study for my trade exam. I take my trade exam. And what happens next?
If you pass the trade exam, The testing company, it'll report your scores to the state, and the state issues your license.
Okay,
And
that's
you're
great.
done.
Okay.
Three-step process:
Yeah.
application, business exam, trade exam. And again, this jumpstart package we've been mentioning takes care of steps 1 and 2 for you. And it's a great way to get started, not only because there's very little risk, because the majority of it is refundable, right? But also it has that $415 credit that's going to roll into your trade books and courses when you're ready.
So talk to me a little bit. I know, a lot of people, it's a big decision, right? You're talking about a career change. You're talking about, being your own boss. Studying for a test that probably you haven't taken a test out of school in who knows how many years. Why is it so important to make that jump and do it if this is your path? What have you heard from, prior customers and prior contractors and why do you think it makes sense for someone to do this?
Well, the beautiful thing about the way the process works in the construction industry in general in a state like Georgia is, if you have done the job, if you can do the job, you can go get the license, and then the ceiling on your earning potential is as close to limitless as it could be. To have a similar earning potential in another field of work, you're looking at usually a graduate degree, at least a master's degree, right? Unless you get a very specialized bachelor's degree. Most likely you're going to go into debt to get that degree, right? What I love about the construction industry is in Georgia, the way the licensing process is it's very meritocratic. If you're good, if you can do the work, you can do very, very well for yourself. And you get a lot of guys who they're working for licensed contractors. They've been doing it, and they're running the whole show, right? The guy with the license barely shows up at the job site. So if you're running the whole show for somebody else, why not run it for yourself, right?
Right. Yeah, no, we're filming this right after, a few weeks after Hurricane Milton and Helene. And, I've been hearing, we go through this every hurricane. Every hurricane, we get people calling up frantically saying, I need to get my license. I've got all these job opportunities. I don't want to have, I can't pull permits and therefore I have to, work for someone else. And then, that's why we're always talking to people about getting their license, during the off season, really focusing on it. So now, if you're watching this and, I think we're both recommending this, that don't put it off. Now today is it's as good as any day to get started and get it done, because I can tell you that, we can both tell you that the amount of jobs that come after a hurricane can be enough to change somebody's career and really propel their career. And there's, the area, Georgia is booming. I mean, that's a great thing. Georgia is booming, Florida's booming, and there's just so much going on. So we hear all the time that contractors, once they get licensed, they're off and running. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
To your point, one thing I want to add is, I was very funny. I was working with someone today, getting them started on this process, right? And this is not uncommon. This is actually very, very common, where right now they're paying somebody to pull their permits for them. They're paying them $4,000 a month. Even if you're going for the GC unlimited license, your all in cost to get the license is not $4,000.
Right.
So that's $4,000 a month to your family, to your savings, right? To you, not somebody who is profiting off of all your hard work, right? You're getting those jobs, you're doing that work. And you don't want to pay somebody $4,000 a month when for much less than that, you can get the license yourself. Keep all that money.
Right, exactly. And even things that I've heard is that in Georgia, specifically after the hurricane, there are some waivers for, if you're a general contractor, you might be able to do roofing, you might be able to get into other areas, but that only works if you actually have a contractor's license. So if you're not in the game, you're out. And so not only that is that once you've been a contractor long enough in certain states, there's reciprocity in other states. So we both know a lot of contractors in Georgia that are making the jump into Florida, getting that work over the border and being able to pick up a lot more business. So, it's the key is get in the game, don't delay, because you're just delaying your future. And it's such a small, it's a little bit of pain in terms of studying. You got to put in the work and effort, and that means doing some of it at night after your job or whatever you're doing. But I mean, we know it pays off. We hear the success stories. We have hundreds and hundreds of success stories, and Georgia's an amazing place to work. So, and Georgia's it's just a booming economy right now. So in terms of the construction industry and what's going on in Georgia.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The success stories, they really are endless. My favorite thing about my job is when I talk to somebody who started with us books and courses a year ago, 18 months ago. I talked to them and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm on my third house that I'm building with my license. Thank you so much." Like, I did the one, I was nervous about how I was going to get business, but I put myself out there on YouTube and word of mouth, and I did the one and I got the next one, and this is the greatest thing I ever did. Thank you for pushing me to do it. And that's what makes it all worth it, is just helping people and improving the community. And I really believe it in the idea of, prosperity, right? Where everybody can lift everybody else up. Like, everybody has, the value and the skills, right? And the opportunity, especially in states like Georgia. I would also include Florida and South Carolina and Tennessee, the Southeast. The opportunity right now is huge, and you don't want to miss out.
Yeah, and I'll just say that, I think unlike a lot of schools out there, One Exam does have a couple of other divisions. We do insurance, we do it, like Andrew mentioned, the applications. We do permit expediting and things like that, so that after you're already out there working, that we can support you in a number of other ways. So we are, as a company, Andrew and the rest of the team are highly motivated, not just to get you in the door to start that process, but to actually get you over the finish line. Every single person that comes in the door gets an account manager to make sure they're getting all the proper everything that they need during the time that they're studying. And so we don't, it's really no person left behind. We want everybody to cross the finish line, because your success makes us happy, and it's important to us. So, Andrew, any last thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, just if there's anybody out there who, they don't see themselves as, that they're thinking about doing it right, but then they're like, "Oh, I'm not that guy. Like, I know my buddy did it, but," or whatever. Like, maybe for whatever reason, there's something, they're holding themselves back because they just don't see themselves as that guy to go out, and do it on their own. You absolutely can. Okay. The application, if you can do the job, if you've been building, if you know how to build, the application, the exams, we've been doing this for 15 years. We can get you past each one of those steps. Step 1, the application. Step 2, the business exam. Step 3, the trade exam. Don't let that hold you back. Okay. You can do this. And what you don't want is, 3 years from now, that feeling when you're lying in bed and you get that thought like, "Oh man, I really wish I went after the license 3 years ago when I was thinking about it. I'm still working for this guy." You don't want that feeling. So take the leap, get in the game, let us guide you step by step, and we'll make it happen.
That's a great point. Great point. And I know we're going to leave all the information in the comments below, but Andrew, how can someone get in touch with you?
So my direct line is 954-233-0153. Okay, that will ring right to my office phone. Alternatively, if you want to get me on my cell, you can call or text 470-748-9116.
Okay, great. And they can email you at andrew@oneexamprep.com.
Yep, that's
Right.
correct. Make sure it's the numeral one. Don't spell out one. Andrew@oneexamprep.com. Yes.
All right, great. Well, Andrew, I'm glad we got you in today. I know you're busy, got a lot of Georgians to get to, but anyway, great coming on, and thanks again. Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Look forward to doing it again soon.